Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy AA on 220, and I am bringing you guys my ICBA Week 8 game versus paper coach of the Silesian Sceptiles. Now, if you guys haven't already, make sure to leave a like down below and check out all the other coaches in the ICBA. It's been a few weeks now, so if you haven't checked them all out by now, I don't know what you're doing with your time, because they're all fantastic coaches, in my opinion. And without further ado, though, let's get right into the build. My opponent here this week has Mega Absol, regular Odd No Dragalge, Fortress, Heatran with Z offense, Lando I, this is the S tier Lando I, mind you, so it is of course the broken one. He has regular Medicham with Z move, Mr. Mime, Regice, Rotom Wash, and Tapu Bulu with Z offense. All these are Z offense, by the way. So getting this build, first up, I bring up Shadow Fire XD, our Typhlosion with Flame Charge. I have Hidden Power Ground, Solar Beam, and Flamethrower as well with the Grassy Z this week. I had Grassy Z this week mainly because with the terrain up, I can guarantee Oko Rotom Wash no matter what build it is with the Grassy Z Solar Beam. Not only that, but if he doesn't go with Grassy Terrain, I can always still kill it almost guaranteed after Rocks. So that depends on his spread this week, of course. My guess is he's probably going to be more of a Fizz Def spread, which is why I'm anticipating he'll probably do that role. But it'll guarantee to take out if he has Grassy Terrain up regardless. So it doesn't really matter in that regard. I do a KO regardless between this plus like any other hit. I can almost certainly take out Rotom Wash. He can't kill me with any like Volts, which are Thunderbolt. He would have to go for Pump, and even then, depending on how little offense he has, I might live a hit. There's always that 20% chance to live a hit because he misses his move, for example. So that investment will be very keen. Just depends on if I can, you know, dodge the Hydro Pump or not. Next up, oh yeah, I also have Hidden Power Ground. This is mainly meant for Heatran, as if he's not a defensive Heatran, I guarantee to KO him. Next up, I have Speedy Boy, our Tapu Koko. I have a bulky Koko this week with Dazzling Gleam, U-Turn, Thunderbolt, and Roost. Spread is designed so with the Mega Absol, guaranteed 3 kills me with Sucker Punch no matter what. I have Dazzling Gleam and Thunderbolt meant to take out pretty much everything on his team, such as the Heatran. Well, 2 KO the Heatran, but it's mainly meant to take out things such as the Rotom Wash, the Mega Absol, Lando Eyes 2 KO by D-Gleam. Just does really nice damage overall versus his roster. The only mon that really doesn't handle 1v1 is Tapu Bulu, but Tapu Bulu I do have other answers for, such as Shadow Fire XD, and a couple other mons I'll get into later on. So it's really just meant to put in as much work as possible versus my opponent. I feel like it puts in a lot of work guaranteed, especially if he doesn't bring the Tapu Bulu. So overall though, I think that Speedy Boy is really going to be a win con this week. Next up I have Wolfia or Zoroark. With the Timid Choice Scarf, I have Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, Memento, and Trick. I know the same spread I usually bring out Wolfie, but it's really the only spread I've needed so far on Wolfie. I have Trick just because I want to get rid of like a potential AV Bulu, for example, as AV Bulu is a really amazing check to my Tapu Koko, and getting rid of the AV is even... If I can even just get rid of the Assault Vest, not gonna lie, it helps so much with dealing damage to Tapu Koko with my team overall. Memento is really nice to pivot into Zygarde, especially, in my opinion, and I would much rather just sack this thing off and get to pivot into Zygarde, especially if Bulu is dead, than keep this thing alive, in all honesty, even if it does mean I lose out a differential point. Flamethrower and Dark Pulse are really all the coverage I need this week. It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. Next up, I have Burned by Clefairy Mega Beedrill with U-Turn, Drill Run, Poison Jab, and Roost. I really just need a dual stab plus Drill Run this week to hit everything in this team really well. Not really a single mon actually switches into this coverage. Even Lando is guaranteed to get KO'd by U-Turn, so that's really beneficial to me, to be honest. That's really it with the spread, I guess. I have Barbara or Ferrothorn this week. With the Lumberry, I have Lumberry mainly just to get around potential like burns from Rotom Wash. I have Stealth Rock, Power Whip, Spikes, and Gyro Ball. This spread is mainly meant to guarantee Oko Spidef Rotom Wash in case he has the Spidef route with Rotom this week. I have Spikes and Rocks that are meant to just Spike stack versus his team. I do realize he has a Mega Absol, however, Gyro Ball should be able to 1v1 that guaranteed, and he can actually take me out no matter what he goes for. So no matter what, I can get up at least one Gyro Ball versus him if he does go with the Mega Absol. If not, I get up at least one free layer of Rocks if he's not Mega Evolved, or at the very least layer Spikes. So that'll be really nice versus his team in general, especially how a lot of his team is really, really lacking in recovery, and it really needs its health as much as possible. So yeah, hopefully I can get up as much hazards as I can, as that makes getting the win this game so much easier in my opinion. And finally we have Zygarde, aka Colgate, this week with 1000 Arrows, D-Dance, E-Speed, and Sub. It's pretty self-explanatory, just a similar bulky Zygarde we've been running pretty much every week, but it really puts in a lot of work this game. If we can clear Tapu Bulu, it essentially just beats his entire team in my opinion. It will be a little bit tricky to set up versus him, not gonna lie, but if I can get to like even just +1, his team really lacks so many mons to actually switch in that could potentially switch in a +0, but nothing really switches in a +1 in my opinion. So that's gonna be our team this week. Without further ado, let's get right into the match. So as you can see, my opponent brings the Rotom Wash, the Fortress, the Heatran, the Lando I, the Medicham, and the Mega Absol. So right off the bat, the first thing that I screamed in my head was yes, yes, fuck yes, fuck yes, fuck yes, no fucking Tapu Bulu, holy shit, fuck yes. And I kept doing that in my head for probably like 30 seconds until I realized between my notes and screaming that in my head, I only had like 20 seconds to pick a lead. But my lead this game, I felt like it couldn't have been any easier. My lead this game was 100% going to be Typhlosion, because if you look at his roster, Rotom lead, Grass MZ, Fortress lead, Fire move. Heatran lead, Hidden Power Ground, scout his spread, see if I can 2-hit kill him, because at the very least, if he's fat, I 2-hit kill him between this plus Mega B, and even if I don't 2-hit kill him with Hidden Power Ground, I do at least preserve my Typhlosion if that's the case. Lando I lead, I hard swap right into Fortress. Actually, I hard swap into Zoroark, and then I go for Memento, and then I start going into Mega B and just spamming off U-turn and gaining momentum on his team that way. If he goes into Medicham, I just go hard into Zoroark and Sack, to be honest. And if he goes into Mega Absol, I just click Fire move. So, yeah, no matter what, I had my lead picked out and my plan no matter what he led off with. So, as you can see here, I'm going to lead off with Shadow Fire XD, and he is actually going to end up pulling a lead with Rotom Wash this week. I sort of anticipated him bringing a Fortress and all. He was going to lead off with it and get up Hazards. He was probably fearing me predicting around that, though, and that's why he led off the Rotom. So, that's fine by me. If he wants to sack his Rotom turn 1, I'm perfectly content with that. And as we can see here, turn 1, I'm not messing around. I'm not playing any games. I'm just going to go straight for the Grassy MZ. I brought it specifically for this Rotom and only for this Rotom. So he's either going to hard swap knowing that I have it, or he's going to get caught off turn 1 right off the bat, and I'm just going to click it. So as you can see here, I do click the Bloom Doom Z move, and we're going to do a ton of damage with this Rotom Wash, actually. As you can see, we're actually going to nearly OHKO it. He's going to live on a little bit of HP. This indicates that we potentially got a low roll or even a min roll on a hard Viz Def Rotom Wash. And he's going to click Volt Switch here, which isn't actually going to do that much damage. We're going to actually be 3-hit KO by the Volt Switch in general, which is actually really nice for us because it does mean that we can potentially live this thing versus any other mons. Get some more scouting done on this team, which is what I plan to do versus the Heatran. Even if it means I go down 5-6 here, I'm perfectly content with getting that damage off because it does tell me that that Heatran is not bulky at all and I can bring in literally anything else to pick it off this turn. So I'm going to sack my Typhlosion here. I'm perfectly content with losing it. I really don't need it at this point because I do still break the Fortress really easily with Tapu Koko. And at this point, I'm going to bring in my Zygarde here. I figured that depending on the spread, I could potentially try and set a sub on Zygarde and Dragon Dance up. However, my opponent here has really done his research with my Zygarde spreads and knows that I love to sub up on potential switches. And he actually goes for the Grassy MZ here, which surprisingly both of our fire types are running Grassy MZ this week. I wasn't really expecting that, but regardless, though, he's going to be able to break my sub here. As you can clearly tell, it's a Grassy MZ Solar Beam. Why wouldn't it be able to break a sub from a Zygarde of all things? It's still a neutral hit. And Zygarde isn't exactly the most Spidef-based Pokemon in the metagame, let alone on my roster. So, as you can see here, he is going to end up breaking our sub, which is fine. I figured, you know what, he's going to break one sub of mine. Let's see if he can break a second. So, I'm going to go for another substitute here. And as you can see here, he's going to go for Earth Power. And this Earth Power ends up actually, as you can end up seeing now, breaking our substitute. So I thought to myself, okay, well, he has clearly stayed in twice now, as I have tried to just go for attacks. I considered going for a third sub and just popping my berry now, which would have probably been the smarter play, not gonna lie. But I didn't realize until after I calced it, after this turn, when I started doing calcs, that I really needed that HP from the berry to get myself in a position to live a hit from something like the Lando Eye. So I just went for the kill on the Heatran, and now it sort of impacts me because I have to click E-Speed here, because had he had Earth Power instead of Hidden Power Ice killed me regardless, so it really didn't matter for this outcome. But had he had just clicked Earth Power, I would have needed that HP from the berry to have any chance at living, and even then it would have been a small roll in my favor. It would have been a little bit in my favor, but it wouldn't have been much. It would have probably been like a 40% in my, well, like a 60-40 roll. But anyway, though, regardless here, I can bring in my Zoroark here. I faked it as my Ferrothorn because I figured that he would stay in that way. He clicked Focus Blast regardless, and luckily I dodged the hit. Earth Power wouldn't have killed me, though. I would have still been able to live one at the very least. And because I see that he's going for Focus Blast here, I'm just going to switch into Tapu Koko because I figured that maybe he might try and preserve this Lando a little bit more since rocks aren't up yet. He, however, does not preserve it and just goes for Focus Blast here. So I think to myself, if he's not going to preserve his Lando, maybe I can just get him to sack it. And that's exactly what I end up going for at this point, because if he has his Lando in here, and he's not going for... I thought he might also try and potentially play around me having realized that my Zoroark is in and not my Tapu Koko, not my Ferrothorn, which is another reason I thought he'd switch. But regardless, though, since he did stay in here, I figured that it's pretty clear that he's just going to stay in and sack. So I went for Dazzling Gleam and killed him off. He now brings in Hard to Crack, which is his Fortress. I figured that running calcs in this thing, I figured that I can actually roost up on his fortress pretty easily. So my play here was just to get him into range of another Thunderbolt and then just start roosting up as much as I can with my Tapu Koko. As you see here, he gets a little bit of a higher roll for the Gyro Ball, not a lot higher, but it's still at the very least not high enough to the point where I can't just roost up on this thing. So my play here is just to click Roost until I see that he goes for Hazards, and then at that point just kill the Fortress. Which, luckily for us, if I'm not mistaken, he goes for Hazards this turn, if not it's the following turn. Yeah, he just goes for Stealth Rocks this turn and sacks the Fortress here. I wasn't really sure why, because he could have potentially banked on a crit and gotten rid of my biggest threat to his team by far. And that would have potentially even won him the game at this point, because I lost my Zygarde, and I lost my Typhlosion. So, having lost Tapu Koko here, he would have literally won the game at that point. Because Zoroark couldn't have broken through his team enough. It wouldn't have been able to touch the Mega Absol. I really needed Koko at this point for that, because my Ferrothorn, while it could have potentially touched Mega Absol, he did have other ways around it, such as Medicham, which could have been a hard swap into Medicham, for example. So, having cleared Tapu Koko would have been a win for him right there. However, luckily for us, he doesn't, and I can just click Dazzling Gleam right here. No matter what he went for, I guarantee lived it, whether it was Scarfed or if it was priority dual hits with like a Fake Out plus Bullet Punch. So we just click Dazzling Gleam here, we guarantee Oko. Luckily the Rock Slide from the Scarf did not flinch us, because that would have potentially been really scary for us. I would have been able to, if I'm not mistaken, still have another hit, but the issue being I couldn't have lived a Sucker Punch from Mega Absol at that point anymore. However, luckily for us, because of our bulk in the spread, we're going to be able to guarantee chew through this hit from Mega Absol. As I said, it's a guaranteed 3-hit KO, potential roll for a 4-hit KO if he's not set up yet. Actually, I think it was a guaranteed 3-hit KO that I prepped this for at +2, if I'm not mistaken, now that I think about it. Regardless though, I guarantee do live this Sucker Punch. As you can see, we only take like 40 damage from it. And I click Dazzling Gleam here, and this Mega Absol is going to completely get obliterated by that. So we've now killed through the Mega Absol as well as the rest of his team at this point pretty much. I believe only has like one Mon left, if I'm not mistaken. I forget what that Mon is. Oh yeah, he only has his Rotom Wash left. Okay, so Rotom Wash is here, and as you can see, it's way too low to actually do anything. I do hard swap out here just in case if he is a Scarfer though. I figured that Ferrothorn at this point guarantee takes any hit, and I can guarantee beat it 1v1. And by Ferrothorn, actually now that I think about it, no, it was the Zoroark that I brought him. Because I figured that Zoroark, I figured could at the very least be a sack in case if he is a Scarf Rotom, and I guarantee do outspeed it. So I do bring in my Ferrothorn, my Zoroark here. Goddamn it, I keep thinking Ferrothorn because it's what it tricked into, or illusioned into. And I click Dark Pulse here, and we do win this game 4-0. Decided to preserve a little differential potentially at the late game because it is a very, very, very tight race for playoffs, and I'm really trying to weasel myself past Omega and Goldoa, and potentially Tom too, depending on. Oh no, yeah, because Tom ended up forfeiting to Goldoa this week, so Tom and Omega I'm trying to weasel past real quick. And if I can end up winning out, I guarantee do make playoffs if I'm not mistaken, because Tom would have less differential than I do, and also Omega would be behind me at that point as well. If I lose another game, then while I'm still in contention, I have a much less chance at making playoffs. So any differential does help a lot though in terms of my playoff race. And especially with a 4-0 win like this, it does help a lot in terms of padding myself to be above the other X and 3 teams. So I didn't need to preserve differential at the end. It was a little unfortunate for my opponent, of course, not being able to get an extra kill, but it is what it is. I also need to preserve my kill leader because I think it's like 19 kills now, if I'm not mistaken, either 18 or 19, I forget. But the point is, it's absurdly high on the kill leaderboard. If you guys did enjoy this week, though, make sure to leave a like down below. I will see you guys in the next game. We take out Omega Jolteon next week, coach of the Chicago Caracostas, and I hope to see you guys there. Tomorrow's video is going to be transactions for PGL. We're going over how we're trying to improve our team for the future of the season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace out, guys.